My Mental Health Story, Part 3, Adulthood Now, 2023 to 2025, my 23 to 25-year-old self. It's not about being cured, it's about living to live life with your scars. That was my mindset I carried into 2023. As I turned 23 years old, around this period, I knew recovery wasn't a finish line. My scars were never going to disappear, but they didn't hold me down either. The years ahead became a time of rediscovery. In 2023, I got back into visual arts, one of my passions I left behind during the darkest chapters in my life. I even traveled to the Philippines, giving me a chance to reconnect with my roots and breathe outside of my everyday struggles. I also began spending time with a new friend, Anna, someone who reminded me that connection doesn't always have to come with pain. 2024 was a major breakthrough for me in terms of my self-expression. I acquired an Xbox Series S, but more importantly, I released my first music album under the stage name Dr. Neil. The album is called Music is Healing. Creating the album was more than just making songs. It was about expressing my pain and healing myself through the power of music that is worth sharing. I went to Comic Con 3 times with Anna, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was living instead of just surviving. Then came 2025, a year of reckoning and release. I released my second music album, Health, Hindrance, and Hardship. But behind the music, my personal life reached a breaking point. My relationship with Rena ended for good. I wrote her a 500-word closure letter. It contained everything I needed to say, everything left unsaid before blocking her everywhere. It was painful, but it was the best choice I made for setting boundaries and choosing to move forward in life. That same year, I pushed myself spiritually as I fasted for over 40 days during Lent. I reunited with my best friend Jumul after his 5 month hiatus, and I finally got back into the workforce after 6 years, including perhaps the most important event in my road to recovery with mental illness. I was discharged from my mental health team, making a giant milestone in true independence. These years weren't perfect, but they weren't meant to be. They were about finding ways to live with my scars, building resilience, and embracing adulthood with all its complications. This is part 3 of my mental health story, Adulthood Now, 2023 to 2025. Chapter 8, 2023, Gradual Self-Reclamation. January 2023. In 2023, I was 23 years old, and it was the first year I was recovering from a mental illness relapse. The first major event that happened in 2023 was the first artwork I made with visual arts, something I haven't done since 2017. I made this geometric design looking cat, but that wasn't the original intention of the artwork. I made this during the morning of the first day of 2023. Then, my father noticed me drawing and coloring in my artwork that morning and encouraged me to make a painting with an unused canvas that was piling dust in the guest room. It was a canvas that measured 60 by 80 centimeters or vice versa. So I took the challenge and tried to paint something on the canvas in the next few days. I ended up painting something abstract or surreal. This was the result. It was called Ang Usaka Mata Nila, or translated to English from my original language, Cebuano. The translated text would be one of their eyes. I played around with the motif of the evil eye, third eye, spiritual eyes, etc. Ironically, the color schemes look similar to the Philippine flag because of the primary colors red, blue, and yellow. A few days later, I went with my parents to have a vacation in the Philippines since there was a major family event on my father's side. We took our flight and arrived in the Philippines at Cebu on the 8th of January 2023, and we stayed with my aunties and uncles at my uncle's house in the subdivision in Talisay, Cebu City. On the 10th of January, I helped my father with his retirement fund papers for SSS Philippines. On the 14th of January 2023, it was my paternal grandfather's family reunion, or in other words, the Abella family reunion. Although my grandfather passed away decades ago, it was more like a reunion of the extended family or the descendants of the Abellio family. Hallucination log mid-January 2023. Sometime around mid-January 2023, I had a hallucination. I saw a shadow-like figure that was about 4 to 5 feet tall in the middle of the stairs of my uncle's house in the Philippines. Another way of describing it would be a shadow figure that resembled a demon since it had horns and wings. I could not see it properly because of how dark his skin was. It was as black as charcoal. On the 19th of January 2023, I went to Naga City in Cebu, as it was also the first time I met and hung out with one of my longtime internet friends, May. We had some fun taking videos and photos together and had deep and meaningful conversations. Here are some videos I took with my internet friend May. On the 22nd of January 2023, My family and my numerous relatives of mine came with us to celebrate my 23rd birthday at Yasuda White Sand Beach, somewhere north of Cebu, with my uncles, aunties, cousins, and even my internet friend May, as I invited her along too. We partied hard as we swam, ate, drank, and also had a dance party later that night. On the 30th of January 2023, I went with my parents, uncles, and aunties to eat at a restaurant in El Corso. The restaurant was called Parrilla. We then went to a casino and resort in Cebu called New Star Casino. It was the first time for me to be in a casino, and the security guard said babyface to me and had to check my ID because I looked underage. And he saw that I was 23 years old. I thought that was hilarious. The following is a picture of a car for sale in New Star Casino and Resort in Cebu City, since we are not allowed to use cameras in the casino itself. February 2023. My parents and I arrived back in Australia on February 4th, 2023. It was a good holiday, and I missed the Philippines because of my relatives there. Hallucination log, Friday 17th February 2023. On the 17th of February 2023, I saw a Grim Reaper figure or black-robed and hooded skeleton in the dining room approaching me before it disappeared. I wasn't scared, but I was surprised when that happened. March 2023. Hallucination log. Around March 2023, I had two occasions where I hallucinated a pale lady in a white dress with long black hair that covered her face. The same figure I saw in 2017. It seemed like she was heading towards me in the dining room, but when I turned my head to the right, she hid in the kitchen. 2 weeks later, around late afternoon, I saw her floating in the backyard in the garden heading towards the fish pond. Dream log. Thursday, 16th March 2023. I was in a room similar to my current room, and I was lying in bed with white walls except it was night. And there was a large, light brown wooden double door on my right. I was questioned by this female sex demon whom I cannot see. I must have made her angry to the point that they warned me to leave this room. When I briefly opened the double door, it was all dark, and I was swooped by them into that dark room. And I was sexually abused, tortured by male sex demons until I prayed the Lord's Prayer, and the monstrous arms that strangled my neck became human-like. Then they stopped as the female sex demon said, "Alright, that's enough, we'll let you go." And I think I was taken away from the room by an angel because I flew out of that room by phasing through the ceiling. That dream was one of the most disturbing dreams I had, spiritually and sexually speaking. At the time, I believed it was linked with my hypersexuality, paired with guilt and shame due to my sexual frustration with my girlfriend at the time, Rowena. April 2023. On the 21st of April 2023, I completed and published my second poetry anthology ebook titled Mental Mileage. It was another major milestone in terms of my writing and ebook publishing. It was a testament to my diligence since it kept me busy rather than idling and doom scrolling all day. June 2023. Around mid to late June 2023, I started hanging out with my friend Anna, the person I met from the TAFE or the vocational college course, Certificate 3 in Community Services. She would sneak me into JMC to help her with some music theory since she's studying songwriting in JMC. JMC is a college that offers courses in creative fields like music and film. Hallucination log. On the 30th of June 2023, I hallucinated the stereotypical vampire, and I dared to laugh at this vampire as I saw him flying. He was wearing a black and red coat as he was floating outside the front security door of the house during the evening. July 2023. Hallucination log. Sunday 30th July 2023. Around 3 to 4 a.m., I heard a wizard whispering outside my room in the corridor stating, "You shall not hear me." Although this did not scare me, I was caught off guard by this. Dream log. Monday, 31st July 2023. I had a dream. I was in bed wrestling with some invisible demon in the dark. This was the final dream I had regarding demons appearing in my dreams. Nevertheless, I'm glad that series of dreams is over. Chapter 9, 2024. Fresh Beginnings. March 2024. Hallucination log. Saturday, 2nd of March 2024. I was lying down in the guest room and the lights were off in that room, but there was light in the corridor. However, I gazed into the laundry room, which was predominantly dark. After gazing at that room was a vision of an apparition. Maybe a tall, old, dark spirit wearing a black dress, or maybe she was floating in the air. Could have been a ghost, a banshee, or a wraith. The context was that I hadn't slept since the night before yesterday. I was concerned I might experience an episode, so I got up and got out of bed and approached the laundry room until it disappeared. June 2024. On the 22nd of June 2024, I went to Supernova Comic Con with my friend Anna. Anna cosplayed as Black Widow, and I tried to cosplay as Mr. Sunshine from the video game Saints Row 2. But I didn't have a suit because it was cold since it was winter, so I wore a poncho to make it a hybrid cosplay, making it more like a Jamaican Mexican character. Hallucination log, Wednesday 26 June 2024. I was trying to sleep in the guest room, and all of a sudden, within my mind, I could hear this scary lady's scream that would have made me deaf if it was a real scream. Similar to the volume of jump scares from scary movies or video games. Bear in mind, I haven't watched anything scary like a video or a movie recently. July 2024. On the 4th of July 2024, I revised and republished my ebook, English to Cebuano Bisaya Facebook. It was with the help of my internet friend Jill. She assisted me by proofreading and making the ebook more professional by providing the references of bibliography with APA referencing style guides. October 2024. Hallucination log. Thursday, 3rd October 2024. I had a hallucination. It was nighttime, and I saw a shadow figure at night peeking from the side of the door as they do in cartoons. I wasn't afraid, but it caught me off guard that night. November 2024. On the 29th of November 2024, I bought an Xbox Series S with my best friend Jimwell, since it was time to upgrade my Xbox One console. I mainly played Forza Horizon 5 and Minecraft at the time on my Xbox. December 2024. Around December 2024, I released my first music album under the stage name Dr. Neil. My first album was called Music is Healing. It was released on music streaming platforms like Spotify and YouTube Music. I wasn't able to achieve this if it wasn't for the help and idea of my best friend Jimwell. Chapter 10, 2025. Freedom at Last. February 2025. Hallucination log, Thursday 6th February 2025. My first hallucination in 2025 was when I woke up and I heard a voice in my head similar to mine saying, "Love thy neighbor, kill thy neighbor." Although I wasn't scared or anything, it just felt unsettling. Sometime in February 2025, my second music album, Health, Hindrance and Hardship, was published on Spotify and YouTube Music. It was more consistent, but the highs weren't as high as the first music album I released last year, which was Music is Healing. March to April 2025. From the 3rd of March to the 20th of April 2025, I fasted for over 40 days as part of my spiritual journey. I fasted by sacrificing meat. I did not eat meat for over 40 days. It was hard. I felt in temptation via dreams like eating KFC or halal snack pack. However, I managed to complete the fast and I was relieved to finish what I started. I thank God I'm alive, and I believe the fact that I managed to survive relapse when I was 22 years old was some miracle. It seemed like the best explanation for my survival story of relapsing with mental illness. Nevertheless, regarding fasting, I had to excuse myself sometimes from eating foods with meat, like not being able to join my older brother and my older cousin's birthday party at the Korean barbecue restaurant. May 2025. On the 29th of May 2025, I bought and received my original Xbox as part of my retro gaming experience. Here's a photo I took when I played it with my friends Marvin and Jack as we played Need for Speed Underground 1. It was nice reuniting, revisiting, and replaying games from the past, namely the fact that some of the games I played never continued to the next generation. June 2025. On the 21st of June 2025, I went to the Supernova Comic Con with my friend Anna. We cosplayed as characters from the Amazon Prime Video series, The Boys. Anna cosplayed as Starlight and I cosplayed as Billy Bocha. On Wednesday, the 25th of June 2025, my best friend Jim Wall finally replied to my messages as I sent him an email and I tried to contact him via text or Facebook Messenger. Since I sent him an email on the 23rd of June 2025, Monday, I haven't heard from him since my last birthday. On Thursday, the 26th of June 2025, I reunited with my best friend Jimwell in person and caught up with his life and vice versa. We went to Newtown to eat at a chicken shop and watched a movie at D&D Cinema. We watched the new live-action Lilo and Stitch movie. I felt so relieved after reuniting with him, but I understood he needed time to himself to sort his life out. August 2025. On Thursday, 6th of August 2025, I was discharged from my medical team, Canterbury Community Mental Health Team. From now on, I have to see my GP or doctor nowadays for everything medical related and for my medications. I felt so glad that I've come so far to the point where I was discharged from my medical team, especially the major setback I had, which was when I relapsed with mental illness back in 2022. On Saturday, the 30th of August 2025, the following is a screenshot from my closure letter regarding the trilogy of my first ex-partner, highlighting how she gaslit me 3 times. I officially broke up with my ex-girlfriend, Rowena, as I sent her a 500-word closure letter, and we had some back and forth messages. She tried to reply with her own closure letter, but her response letter was trash. She just copied me and changed it slightly from her point of view, saying she was shy at the time and she wanted to hug me. I blocked her and her friends after I sent a comeback, blocked her before she could even reply. Good riddance, she's gone from my life. I wasn't crying or anything, I was just angry and frustrated, but also laughing because the closure letter's title read like a case file since it was titled Closure Letter to Ex-Partner Number 1. Within that letter, I wrote how she gaslit me 3 times during our time together. September 2025. On Tuesday, the 2nd of September 2025, I had a group job interview for a production team member role in a warehouse in Regent's Park for a company called Savers. It was the first job interview I've had in years since 2020. On Friday, the 12th of September 2025, the recruitment team from the Savers company I applied for called me around 4 p.m. We discussed the email regarding my work references since they are unavailable to be contacted as my previous job's child organization, Staples Bag, closed down years ago. Nevertheless, he suggested I get a reference from my education or family members as a last resort. So I used 2 of my older brothers as my character references as a last resort. Tuesday, the 16th of September came around as I waited the whole day from morning to 5 p.m. I eventually got the news that I got the job for Savers for the Regent's Park warehouse for the production team member role. I have to sort the donations in the warehouse. I filled out most of the employment forms online through the Savers company. I notified my friends Anna, Marvin, and Jamal about my new job that I got hired for. On the following day, Wednesday the 17th of September 2025, I returned to the workforce for the first time since 2019. After 6 years away from employment, my first days at Savers Australia marked a quiet but significant turning point in my recovery and independence. The first day began before sunrise, commuting by bus and train to the Savers warehouse in Regent's Park, alongside 9 other hires. I completed workplace induction, safety briefings, and orientation under the guidance of the production manager Ross. Being issued a work ID and clock-in card felt symbolic, a formal re-entry to structured working life. I didn't work as a sorter nor grader, but rather as a recycler, recycling clothes using the baling machine. By the second day, training shifted from theory to practice. I attended toolbox meetings, completed safety modules, and began hands-on work in recycling operations. I learned to operate industrial machinery, including a baler that compresses clothing into 170-kilogram bales. I worked alongside experienced colleagues who acted as workplace mentors. For the first time in years, I was learning new physical skills in a real production environment. The third day marked the start of extended on-the-job training, a 6-week process focused on consistency, safety, and teamwork. I met my co-workers who would become familiar faces, formed early connections, and began settling into the rhythm of working life, commuting, training, learning, and showing up each day. These first days weren't dramatic, but they were foundational. They represented more than employment. They marked a return to responsibility, routine, and self-trust after years spent healing. On Sunday, the 21st of September 2025, I went with my friend Anna to Oz Comic Con at Sydney Showground at Sydney Olympic Park. I cosplayed as Billy Butcher again, and for my friend Anna, she cosplayed as Starlight again, but this time around, she cosplayed with Starlight's bodysuit costume. Anna also mentioned to me that day that I inspired her to find a job since I haven't had a job for 6 years. I knew this fact, but it felt like I was oblivious to this notion because if this was my old self, say for example a few years back, I'd be so emotional. I would probably be crying if I got the new job a few years earlier. October 2025. On Friday, the 3rd of October 2025, I completed the Out Loud Songwriting Workshop Performance Showcase at Bankstown Arts Centre. First, it was the Out Loud Songwriting Workshop facilitators Gemma and Nicole. For us, as the performers and students of the songwriting workshop in chronological orders, these were the performances: Anna Winchester, Dr. Deal or me, Victory, Riva, Jappy, Rani, Natalie, and Safa. It was the first time I performed music live, or in other words, the first time I performed an original song live. I was nervous at first, but because I practiced my lyrics for a week, my performance was good enough for me, due to the fact that I practiced during lunch at work as well. Friday, 31st October 2025. During work this day, it was a Halloween party and barbecue. It was also one of our work supervisor's last day at work. It was Inder's last day because he's retiring. I came in with a black and red Miles Morales Spider-Man logo t-shirt with body drawings on my forearms. My friend workmate Richard dressed as one of the characters from the anime Demon Slayer named Iguro, but to most people, he looked like a samurai. I also sang for my workmates because it was some of my workmates' birthdays this month, since no one wanted to sing, so my supervisor Millie gave me the microphone. After work, I returned home briefly before heading back into the city to meet my friend Anna. It was Halloween, and for the first time in a long while, I wasn't going out to escape anything. I was going out to be present. We met near Central Station and joined our friends Marvin and Jack. Plans shifted quickly. The club we intended to enter turned us away, and we spent the early evening moving through the city searching for somewhere to land. Along the way, we stopped briefly at a retail store where Jack's sister worked. In that moment, the night took an unexpected turn. Marvin broke down, overwhelmed by recent trauma, and was comforted by her quiet, unplanned kindness. Eventually, we found our way to the pub in Circular Quay. Inside, the night slowed. I stayed sober, drinking water while the others drank. We shared food, talked, and let the noise of the city fade into the background. For a while, it felt enough just to sit together. Later, the music pulled us into the dance floor. I danced freely, unguarded, unself-conscious, while Anna recorded the moment on my phone. It was simple, spontaneous, and real. November 2025. Saturday 8th November 2025. I went to my friend Marvin's house in Casula, where I met Marvin, Jack, and Marvin's mother, grandmother, and auntie, along with his family friends. It was the first time I went over to Marvin's house, and I am glad to be a good friend of his. It made me grateful for the friends I have. Friday 28th November 2025. I went with my parents to attend my auntie Catherine's 60th birthday party at Regis Bankstown Hotel in a function room, and some of my cousins, uncles, and aunties were there, as well as my nephews and nieces. It was refreshing to see my relatives for once, since we've all been so busy with work and studies. Saturday, 29th November 2025. I finally finished my third poetry anthology ebook titled Silent Fortitude and published it on Amazon Kindle and also on draft to digital platforms. That was the final project I finished that year. December 2025. Wednesday, 3rd December 2025. After work, I went to Bankstown and waited for my friend Anna to arrive. Then we headed to Out Loud's end of year artist party where we saw fellow Songwriting 101 workshop alumni such as Victoria and Japni. Some of us took photos, made bracelets, ate food and drinks, and even performed during the open mic such as Victoria, Anna, and me. Now, at 25, I can look back and see just how far I've come. From rediscovering visual arts to releasing music, to traveling, reconnecting with friends, and even fasting for over 40 days during Lent. These last 4 years have shown me that adulthood is less about perfection and more about persistence. 25 was a particularly significant turning point as I ended things with my ex-partner, Ruina, after writing a closure letter and severing ties with her. It wasn't easy, but it needed to be done. It was a way of finally setting boundaries, of accepting what could not be fixed, and of choosing myself. Being discharged from my mental health team, facing my time, returning to the workforce, and standing on my own for the first time in a long time. All of it reminded me that even with scars, I can keep moving forward. What I've learned through these years is this. Healing isn't about erasing the past. It's not about being cured or waiting for the perfect time when everything suddenly makes sense. It's about living with the scars you carry and realizing they don't have to define you. Scars are part of you, but they're not the end of you.